Welcome to the programme. You're with Arise News in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Ahead over the next 60 minutes, all of the global headlines you need to know about. I'm Faith Orr and you're watching Arise News Hour. Our top stories. It's the world's largest exercise in democracy. Almost 1 billion people begin voting in India. But not everyone is hopeful. Victims of ethnic violence in the northeast of the country cast their ballots from displacement camps. Thousands of Iranians take to the streets in protest after Israel launches a drone attack at nuclear facilities in the country. And we're live from Venice, where Nigeria is set to open its pavilion at the famous Biennale. We begin in India, where voting is underway in the first phase of the world's largest election. Almost 1 billion people are eligible to cast their ballot across 7 phases. Polls are open until June the 1st as people elect 543 members of the Lok Sabha, the lower house of India's parliament. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is seeking a rare third term. He'll know if he's achieved that when results are announced on June the 4th. The vote pits Modi's BJP against an alliance of 24 opposition parties, which is challenging him with promises of increased affirmative action, more handouts, and what they say is the need to save democratic institutions from Modi's dictatorial rule. Indians queued up outside polling stations for hours before they opened at 7 a.m. Many battled a heatwave to be able to cast their votes.
The district administration of Dantwada has made special arrangements for senior citizens and disabled voters. They have provided voters with water facilities and installed a tent for shade. Their transportation facilities are also helpful. So people are not facing many difficulties and they're coming here and exercising their right to vote. Irrespective of the candidates, our job is to cast our vote. This is our first duty, and if we do not fulfill this responsibility, then everything else that comes after is far away. This is why the public should come to vote despite the situation, even under the scorching sun.
Everyone feels very hot indeed, and the sunlight is quite harsh. However, despite the harsh conditions, we are coming to vote. People are getting dehydrated too, but they must still show up because voting is even more important than eating.
People who have been forced to flee ethnic violence in the northeast of India say they feel ignored by Narendra Modi's government. The BJP has controlled the state of Manipur since 2019, but Modi hasn't visited in the past 11 months of conflict. At least 220 people have been killed and thousands displaced. Many had successful businesses and lived well, but were forced to run with only the clothes on their back, leaving their homes, belongings and money to be burned. Here's what some of the IDPs had to say.
Difficulties is lots of difficulties here. For child education, for the food we eat, the government provides us two-time foods, but we eat it that. We are staying at my home like a king or queen, and then what we stay here is like a beggar here. We Meitei people from the tribal area are refugee now in their own states right now. And the government of Manipur is not thinking for us till now.
I panic and I got up at the middle of the night and I can't sleep. Sometimes when we look back to our village, the house we are burning down with black smokes and we can't sleep. Still we remember in our mind. before I work as a private nurse, but now I have nothing to do with this situation. Since the ethnic war is still going on, we can't stop by ourselves, and we are the victim of these consequences.
I feel bad. I feel bad. I want to.
We'll have reaction to this from India as well as the diaspora here in Nigeria and in the UK. I want to begin in London with Raul Lai, the project manager for the Platform for Indian Democracy. Raul, thank you so much for joining us on Arise News Hour. I want to start by putting this into perspective. This election is the biggest democratic exercise anywhere ever. Nearly 1 billion eligible voters. Just how big a challenge is this to carry out?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. And it is huge, one of the biggest voting in history. And with a country as diverse and as big as India, it is a huge challenge. And it's going to be tough to a big feat.
And your organisation, it isn't about supporting a particular party, but about promoting democracy in India. Just how important do you think these elections are from that frame of mind?
Yeah, incredibly important. And as British Indians, our history is deeply connected with India and those values that, those heroes of democracy were in the independence movement really forged democracy in India. And those same values were passed on to our families who in turn made their journeys here to the UK. So, the upholding of democratic values and the protection of India's democracy is something that's really heartfelt and important to us as British Indians, as its establishment is a huge part of our history.
And from your vantage point in London, just how much concern would you say there is among British Indians about the direction that India is going?
Yeah, there is concern amongst the diaspora. It's not, as it's often portrayed, as completely supportive of the direction that India is currently traveling. Over the last few years, we have seen the increasing suppression of individual freedoms and these democratic backsliding. And it is a cause for concern, especially for British Indians, that violence that we're seeing in the treatment of women and girls. And for us as well, that violence is being exported here to the UK, as we saw in the Leicester riots very recently. So British Indians are watching, they are concerned, and, our work really is to amplify those voices from our communities, saying that we are really proud of India, really proud of its history and its democracy, and we hope in this election and in the years to come that democracy is protected and upheld.
You mentioned there concern amongst British Indians about, violence against women and girls, for instance, in India. People who are raising concern about this in India, dissent is being met with a crackdown by Modi's government. Even peaceful dissent, peaceful protests are being cracked down on. How much concern is there about that from the UK?
Oh, huge. We also have our same conversations about the importance of the right to protest. It's a human right. It's one that is universally granted to all of us on the basis of our humanity. So, these are ordinary Indians wanting to campaign for a better future and to raise their voice and use their democratically given voice. And, to see the crackdown in the protests, whether it be in the farmers or in Delhi, it is deeply concerning. Everybody should have that right, and no matter where in the world you are.
Okay, Raul, thank you so much for joining me from London. I do appreciate your time.